We're chatting to Tokyo Sexwale. Tomorrow, the 27th of April, marks 26 years of South African democracy. It is a time to reflect on the final steps to end the long walk to freedom. But today, that hard-won freedom seems quite far away. And perhaps that long walk begins yet again as we enter day 31 of the nationwide lockdown that has been characterized by military presence and the suspension of our basic human rights. Our society remains one of the most unequal in the world. So what is freedom under lockdown? And what do we say to young people across the country as they reflect on the nation they will inherit? To have this important discussion, we are joined by anti-apartheid activist, former political prisoner, politician, as well as businessman. This guy needs no introduction. It's Mr. Tokyo Sexwale. Thank you so much for giving us your time, sir, and thank you for joining us on Weekend Dawn. My first question out the gate, how do we celebrate Freedom Day under this lockdown?
Well, Jacob, good morning to you. Good morning to your viewers as well as your listeners. And God bless for us to come this far under this lockdown. It's very unfortunate. The 27th of April, Freedom Day in our country, South Africa, is a tremendously great day. It's a great date, but unfortunately at this time, we'll be celebrating it under the cloud, under this pressure that has been brought to bear on the whole world by this corona or COVID-19. But nevertheless, the first thing that we've got to recognize is that the freedoms that we all have, the freedom of assembly, freedom of expression, freedom of association, and the basic rights, under the political rights, economic rights, social rights, they have limits. During times of disaster, during times of warfare, during times of strife, they are limited. And of course I'll come to where those limits should end. They are limited, and we have accepted that so far the elected leadership of South Africa under the president have done, we must say, extremely well to lead us during this time and to make sure that lives are saved. That has been the mission of the essence of this limitation of their rights. It was to save lives. It was actually to protect one great freedom, freedom of life, freedom of health. So we have done very well as a country to that extent. But then we should accept, and I know that your viewers and your listeners at this time, during this dawn, are younger people. We owe them their future. We owe them their rights going forward. We should understand that these rights have got limits, but at this point, these rights, or can I say, the lockdowns and all these things should not degenerate into the essence of permanence. We need to understand that there will come a time, Jacob, when these freedoms, the limitations are lifted. Worldwide and countrywide, we accept these limitations. But then we have got people who may, in certain parts of the world, and definitely should not happen in our country, may be celebrating another fact. The fact that these limits are there, and the hope that these limits will stay for long. You see, authoritarian regimes, dictators, autocrats play in this space. They're very excited with what is happening. But democrats like us, elected people like we have in South Africa, must understand that this limitation has got limits itself. So it doesn't mean that forever these limits will be, exercised upon us. There comes a time these limits will go, because people still need to associate, to express, put their right to assemble, trade unions, protests, marches. Those things belong to us. These are great weapons to keep our society alive. So that temptations should not visit politicians anywhere in the world where people feel that it's nice to govern like this. Certainly the people have got their rights, they belong to us, they don't belong to other people.
Now, Ntate Sexwale, I want to take you back to 1994 on the 27th of April. Obviously, being an anti-apartheid activist, you've been through a lot. And what did that day give you in terms of emotions? What did you feel like when you casted your vote in a democratic South Africa for voting for the first time after fighting so hard to get to where we were?
Well, let's give the answer to Nelson Mandela. I mean, at that age, the man was voting for the first time in his own country. Certainly all of us were also voting for the first time. So it was a day of victory. Remember, this day came as a result of struggles that have been fought by our people for a very, very long time. Struggles that have been visited by detentions, by torture, by murder, by massacres, Patong, Sharpeville, and so on. So this was a culmination of the people seizing back their own lives, seizing back the whole strategy of national self-determination, a freedom. That's what we're celebrating. So it was very exciting. Everybody was out there, and they were casting our votes for the first time. But it was a celebration, but it was like, we never thought it would come this far. But then it happened after people had used all types of harsh methods to fight back. But on that day, it was just, reduced to a cross. But that cross had very, very powerful significance. We were crossing out the past and indicating that we are now accepting the future, the freedoms, a new South Africa, a democratic South Africa, a non-racial one, non-sexist one, one that prospers, and so on. So that day was a culmination of all these things. It was truly freedom. That's why when we celebrate the 27th, we do so with the understanding that it has been, it's as a result of hard-won struggles. So these must not be played about with, they must not be toyed with. These are real achievements that we had. So on that day, it was great celebration.
And the reason why I've asked you that is because I'm hoping that there's young people out there who have heard all the stories about 1994 on the 27th of April and are hopefully feeling inspired. And maybe there's some out there who don't know where to draw their inspiration from. I mean, I'm old enough and lucky enough to have viewed all of these actions happen on television, which I think makes me quite fortunate. But for the youngsters out there, the millennials who have no idea what Freedom Day is about, what would your words of inspiration be to them? And considering that they'll be holding the beacon for South Africans going forward, how do they keep fighting the good fight?
Number one, this is your country. Never be apologetic about that. It's yours. People died for this one. People sweated. People are still missing unmarked graves just to get you this country back. It's your land. So there's no apology about it. Number two, you're a citizen here. You've got rights. These are your rights. The right to assemble, the right to associate, the right to express, to speak freely, whether on social media or like I'm talking about. It's your right. Nobody should take these rights away. Number three, be vigilant. Be vigilant, guard these rights jealously. Because these rights around the world and across the country, it has been shown, these rights can come and they can go. There are dictators, there are autocrats, authoritarian regimes across the world. Look what is happening in the United States today. You've got a president that is all over the place. This is the number one leader of what they call the free world or the Western world. It can happen. It's so easy. It's your country. The most important thing, the word struggle. Just like you struggle when you're born, day one, you cry out, you struggle, you breathe your first air. We will struggle until the last breath, when you need that breath, when you die. Fight for these rights. One mistake, you sit back and you lose vigilance, it's gone. So my inspiration to young South Africans, because we're at the past, to young South Africans, you say that it's your country, you are a citizen, you're not apologetic, these are your rights, fight for them every day. If fees must fall, shoot for. You are in that struggle. If you must fight for health as we are today, you are in that struggle. The budget of this country, we saw the Minister of Finance, wonderful person, speaking yesterday on your behalf, but watch what he's saying. And if you want to criticize. The President himself, he has done very, very well. He is the leading light right now. Before we came to this, he was receiving all types of criticisms. But, you know, he has done so well, but you keep on watching. Do not lose vigilance and give away your rights and sit back and think that things will happen. So you are in charge. This is your country. You are the power. Look ahead. That's my inspiration to South Africans. Be vigilant. The watchword is caution. Don't lose your rights. Don't give over your power. And be constant. Be there. Be on social media. Be on television. Have discussion.
As much as there's good things to say about how far we've come, there's also the bad and the negative. So what about accountability and oversight for all the things that we have gotten wrong in our new democracy?
Jacob, I spoke of the three bad ones, you know. The autocrats are happy with Corona. I'm coming to that because it gives them sort of what they think is legitimacy to do what they like. The dictators, the authoritarian regimes, and so on. Let me come to the Democrats. What is the Democrat? The people that are in charge of us worldwide today. Democrats are potential dictators, and they can go wrong. Unless you impose on us, on them, oversight. And oversight is accountability. It's parliaments, the portfolio committees, it's the media, religious organizations, youth, all these organizations that are the unions, to make sure that a Democrat does not degenerate into something else. That's why we have made mistakes in this country in the past. Don't make the mistakes of thinking that because we are a democratic society anywhere in the world, I'm not talking just about South Africa, we are experiencing this every day, where Democrats degenerate to become dictators. So the watchword again is oversight. Insist on accountability. Insist on transparency. Because if these things go, you're gone.
And then when it comes to the things like coronavirus, what has that taught us about human rights?
Well, it has taught us that we are all human. It has taught us that we are all belonging to one race, not these races that we fight against one another from their positions, the human race. It has taught us that the rich and poor are all the same. It has taught us that it's a war against humanity. It has taught us that we must stand together. That's what this thing has taught us. But it has also taught us that during such times, you need solidarity. International solidarity, local solidarity, so that you stand with other people, so that you support other people, so that you survive with other people. Don't fight the battle alone. So we're in this fight, as they say, together. So Corona has taught us that, you know, things are not always going to be hunky-dory. The president said that, and I agree, that post-Corona we'll be living in a different world, because we never know whether this Corona has got its other friends, because these are viruses, and they are mutating, they are changing. Maybe this is the time when they are visiting us, these things. Maybe we didn't handle this world very carefully. I don't want to go into conspiracy theories as to whether this was something that was triggered by other people doing things in laboratories and so on. They want to accept that we are faced with these things, Ebola, HIV, AIDS, these new things that are visiting us. Corona has taught us that we are headed for rough times in the world. The young people must know it is your world. Participate, be involved right now. So that as these developments come, you are au fait with them. You are part of the agency that seeks solutions. You are there, right in the center. Corona has taught us that we've got to be very watchful, and we've got to engage. Don't hand over your powers to other people. And you insist on transparency. You insist on accountability. It has taught us that we are in a struggle, and it has taught us that we will require various tools to fight this struggle. Science being one of them, and not fake news outside there. Rely on accurate information, otherwise we can fall over the place. But then it has taught us that we need to survive as human beings in a changed world.